Discrimination has always been an ugly thing, and an ugly word, some say, something to avoid, and even worse when it is based on a factor that you simply can't help, such as your sex, your age, sexual preferences, or in this case, your looks. Studies suggest that employers look at a job candidate's physical appearance as a part of their eligibility criteria. Now, recruitment expert Yoni Titi says that interviewers unconsciously acknowledge a candidate's physical appearance before even listening to them, before they sell their skills. Titi is the managing director of Yoni Titi Human Capital. It's a 100% black-owned recruitment agency focusing on middle, senior, and executive placements. She's also the USA Qualified Leadership Coach. She holds an MBA from Edinburgh University, a BCom in law, postgrad in corporate law, and advanced banking, as well as leadership coaching graduate at Georgetown University in the USA. She has 10 years experience in the recruitment business. She now joins us in studio to talk to us about that. A very good morning to you, Yoni, and welcome.
Morning, Elvis, and thanks for having me.
Now, that's a very long CV. Some people would say, geez, is that what you do? How long have you been doing it now, you say?
I've been in recruitment for 10 years, and before that, I was in corporate South Africa for probably another 8 years or so.
8 years,
yes.
Yeah. Now, Yoni, we run a very interesting poll this morning because we wanted to find out from South Africans, what do they think? Do their looks really count when they go for interview? Let's put up that poll and see what we've got there so we can show you where we stand right now and see if the guys can. If you can just put up that poll for us, there we go. We asked the question, should your looks count during an interview? And this is what people are saying. 29% says, and I'm sure that's the pretty ones. They are saying, yes, looks should count. 46% are saying no. And 25% of them are saying sometimes. 171 votes in, and I can tell you it's a high number of votes there for people. What do you make of that?
I think that people are answering to the question of should. And perhaps what I'm here to talk about is the reality, which
what
is the unspoken
is the reality?
truth. The unspoken truth is that when candidates, as well as entrepreneurs themselves pitching for work, what happens is that the first impression that you give is more on a physical level. So when the potential employers look at a candidate, they've invited you to the interview, they've seen your CV, but the impression is going to be based on the way that you are groomed, the way that you've put yourself together, the way that your physical attributes, the way you carry yourself, your charm, your social liveness. And that's what we actually call the package.
So the package. But how serious is that issue of the package? Is it very serious? Does that determine the outcome?
It has a lot of influence on the outcome. You can have individuals carrying the same skills set and the same level of experience, and you'll generally find that the person who will ultimately get the role is the one that offered that package. It's the one that had what we also call the erotic capital, which is the physical attributes. They carry themselves in a different manner. They just come across differently. And the comparison now really becomes on those attributes because we've already got the skills and the experience.
That erotic capital, do some of your clients ask you to look for that specifically to recruit clients or candidates?
Generally, clients come to us with the expectation that we understand their industry, what the expectations are, what the culture of the organization is, and what the ideal fit in a candidate is. So it's almost like an unspoken specification in certain instances. If I make an example, if I'm recruiting for a health insurance company, and that health insurance company is looking for a head of marketing, it does not need to be deliberately stated that we're looking for a certain kind of fit, but that person needs to be the brand ambassador of that client. So the physical attributes will again play a part in that particular consideration. But if I'm looking for somebody that's not client facing or does not is going to be in a call center, what I'd be looking for there is more their social liveness telephonically, which is the vocal. So we're talking about verbal, vocal, and visual.
So there's a lot to take into account when you recruit in that respect. So let's take a look at the marketing, what did you call it, director? Executive?
Head of marketing for a health insurance company.
So that person cannot be overweight, obese, or whatever, because it'll send the wrong message, wouldn't it?
For the industry that they're going into, for what the company does, it would send the wrong message. So the client will likely wish to make an appointment that is going to be in line with what their brand is and what they stand for, which is positive health.
Which job categories are most affected by this type of erotic capital that you need to distinguish?
I probably would have to say that it's more your white collar kind of roles. It's more your corporate space. If I'm looking for somebody who's going to be not client-facing, like I said, if you're a mechanic, you can have 20 tattoos. Nobody really is going to care. But if you're going to be in a client-facing corporate environment, that erotic capital comes in. And I've given the description of what the attributes would be that really give us what we're looking for, which is the package.
Would you say, though, that this is unfair discrimination to a certain extent?
It certainly is unfair discrimination. It's not even a conscious bias that interviewers and decision makers have. They will look at somebody, and people generally want to recruit and work with people that they like. And when they look at somebody, there's certain things that trigger that positive response of a connection. Of course, the unfairness of it is that if you have certain of these biases, which you mentioned earlier, it can either be your sexual orientation, your physical orientation, even the way you articulate yourself, it could be facial scars, etc. Those are the kind of things that they would have a bias, which is unfair. The question is now, from a legal perspective, how would you go about that? Because the feedback is not necessarily given to you that, Elvis, you didn't get this job because you didn't quite have that package we were looking for. So it's also hard to prove.
Yes. Now, I said earlier, you know, when I joined my local club there and I wanted to enter the ugly competition, they sent me away because they said, you know, I'm a professional, so I can't fit that. But if you look at that, if you had to give advice to a potential candidate right now today, what would that be? That doesn't look too good, by the way.
When it comes to presenting yourself for an interview, really, the CV is a foot in the door. It lends you the invitation to attend the interview. The next step for you is to try and put yourself together in the best manner that you can. So your dress sense will be very, very important. And there's lots that you can read up, or you can even find a coach that can be able to get you into the right kind of thinking around dress sense. It's also going to be the way that you present yourself, the way that you speak in that interview. It's about your charm, your eye connection. It's about being socially intelligent during that interview as well. It's also about somebody having a presence. And some of these things you can build up over time. People who are more shy tend to have a more difficulty, but others that are not, you know, would probably do much, much better than others. So the advice would be, try and be that package. Don't only rely on the fact that I've got the experience and I've got the CV. We are moving away from just only expecting qualifications. We are looking for that package.
Yoni, thank you so much for your time and joining us here in studio.
Thank you.
That was Yoni Titi. She is the Managing Director at Yoni Titi Human Capital, giving you a little bit of advice in terms of how you should go about your next interview. Pay attention to this one.